While my parents put me in a mental hospital, Sophie was playing the violin on stage. My future husband and my little brother were there, clapping for her. That special moment should have been mine. The violin was meant as my present for turning 12. Sophie and I didn't get along for most of our lives. It didn't matter if I was right or wrong. My parents always took Sophie's side. She would cry a little and they would always blame me. But I am their actual daughter. I didn't understand this until I was near death. If I had a second chance, I decided I wouldn't argue with Sophie about their affection, which was clearly unfair. I woke up and realized I was 11 years old again. This was the day Sophie asked to change her name to become part of our family. Sophie was my cousin, my uncle's child. After my uncle and aunt died in an accident, they left Sophie, who was often sick. Dad and my uncle were true brothers, so Dad couldn't leave Sophie by herself and brought her into our home to raise her. Sophie cuddled close to Mom, saying dreamily, "They didn't give me a good name before. I really want to belong to this family." Mom gently stroked her hair. "Of course you can be Sophie, all right?" I watched this happy moment from the stairs, feeling cold inside. Then Dad saw me. He looked worried, frowning as if he thought I would hurt Sophie. "Emma, don't cause trouble. Sophie is your sister now. She's sick, so you need to let her do what she wants. Don't pick on her, understand?" Hearing those exact words again from my first life made my heart feel heavy. Sophie is sick. The big sister needs to give way to the younger one. I had heard that so many times. When Sophie came to live with us, most of the love that should have been for me went to her instead. Just because she had no parents and wasn't healthy, I always had to let her have her way. Eventually, even the small amount of love left for me went to her too. But I was only 2 months older than Sophie, and she was my cousin, not my sister. Why did Mom and Dad act like she was their real child? Was it all because she cried? I clearly remember how Mom looked at me with dislike the last time she saw me. She said, "Emma, you act like a brat. You won't even let Sophie be." Did Mom forget? After Sophie arrived, she stopped treating me special. I'm her actual daughter. My gaze went downstairs where Mom was trying to make me feel better. "Emma, even though Sophie is here, Mom loves you the most." I noticed a look in Sophie's eyes that seemed older than she was. If I hadn't lived through this before, I wouldn't have seen it. But then she quickly blinked and pouted in front of Mom and Dad. "Sister, do you not like me?" I didn't answer her and started to walk away. Mom called for me, but Dad stopped her. "Let her go. Don't waste your time. She's already a spoiled child. If she were just a little bit as reasonable as Sophie, I'd be happy." I held the railing tightly, then walked calmly back to my room. Even though I decided to stop caring about their love when I woke up in this life, Dad's comments still stung. I mostly stayed in my room, only coming out to eat or use the bathroom. I didn't want to watch Sophie pretend to be nice. Also, I needed to focus on my studies to get into a good university. When I went to college, I could finally move out and not interrupt their happy family life with Sophie. While I was studying, someone knocked. Sophie's quiet voice came through the door. "Sister, Mom sliced some watermelon. I brought 2 pieces for you." I didn't have patience for her games and continued reading. A bit later, Sophie spoke again, sounding like she was crying. "Mom, does Sister hate me? I only want to be close to her, but she doesn't pay attention to me. Does she think I stole Mom and Dad? Maybe I should return to the orphanage. Then she might like me." Mom soothed her. "No, of course not. Emma's just acting spoiled. I'll get her to play with you later." My brother Ben added his opinion too. "I like Sophie, not like Sister. She's not nice." I opened my door and spoke coldly. "Okay, I understand. You two are very close, but please don't hang around my door. It's loud." Sophie moved a little closer, looking like she wanted to approach but was afraid. "Sister, if I go back to the orphanage, will you play with me? I can pack my things now." Ben quickly stood in front of her. "Sister is the mean one. I like Sophie, not her. She should leave." Mom didn't tell Ben off. Instead, she looked at me. Emma, you're being completely unfair. You should be like Sophie. Even though she's younger, she acts much better. I gripped the doorknob tightly. If she acts better and is nicer, then let her be your daughter. Oh, right. She basically is already. Dad rushed upstairs, yelling at me. Emma, that's enough. Sophie is part of the family now. You're the older sister. Why can't you look after her? See how much better your brother acts? Say sorry to Sophie immediately. Looking at Dad, Mom, Ben, and Sophie, it felt like they were the true family, and I was just someone on the outside. It was crazy. My parents didn't support me. They shouted at me for one comment. Even my own brother chose Sophie's side. I saw Sophie give a tiny, satisfied smile. Ignoring Dad's continuous scolding, I shut my door loudly, not caring what he wanted. Apologize to Sophie? Never. Once the door was closed, I tried to calm down, but I could still hear them comforting Sophie. Nothing was different from my first life. Even when I tried to show them my side, my parents still thought I was the mean one, no matter how I acted. A couple of tears from her, and suddenly her mistakes became mine. How stupid. My birthday was near. Dad presented me with my gift. The violin I had wished for forever. It cost quite a bit for our family, which is why Mom and Dad had delayed getting it. Mom smiled and motioned for me to open it. I took the violin out, showing no emotion, but I saw Sophie's eyes flash with jealousy. Dad used this moment to talk to me seriously. Emma, we didn't forget you. We do still love you. Mom gently touched my head. See, Emma? We got you the violin you wanted, even though it was hard for us. We've just been giving Sophie extra attention because she's unwell. You need to understand more now and help Sophie. Set a good example for your little brother, okay? Before I could answer, Sophie cried out, making everyone look at her. As they watched, she pretended to be sorry, covering her mouth, but her eyes showed jealousy. Mom and Dad are so nice to sis. I haven't even touched a violin. I've only seen them on TV, and I wish I could play. Nobody ever bought me one. People always say girls shouldn't learn things like this. It's a waste. I wish I were sis. Sophie's sad expression made Mom and Dad feel bad for her. Just like the first time, Mom took the violin from me and gave it to Sophie. Dad said the same thing he said back then. Since your sister feels this way, Emma, be nice and let Sophie have the violin. Sophie held the violin, her voice quiet. Really, sis? Before I could even say yes, Mom made the decision. Why not? Sophie belongs to our family too. In my first life, Sophie got my violin just like this. Mom and Dad told me to give it to her and promised a better present later, but I refused and argued with Sophie. As a result, they yelled at me badly and even stopped giving me my spending money. Why did her fake sadness mean I lose my present? Didn't I have the right to keep something I wanted? I looked up and asked the question I'd been wanting to ask since before. Why must I give my birthday present to her? Can't we buy another one for her? They didn't suddenly understand. They just scolded me again. The violin cost a lot. We don't have money for another. Can't you and Sophie share? Why are you acting so selfish? Sophie has had a hard life. You need to be nice to her because you're older. I stared at them for a moment, then slowly nodded. Okay, I understand. I turned and went upstairs. Behind me, I heard Mom calling my name and Dad complaining, "Look at that attitude. So young and already acting out. You really don't understand how much things cost." Around the corner, I saw Ben giving Sophie a present. Sophie, happy birthday! But it was my birthday today. 2 months later for Sophie's birthday. The same parents who said money was tight spent a lot. Because Sophie pouted and wanted her whole class to come, they rented a room at a hotel for her party. I heard they even had a huge 5-layer cake. And what about me? Just like last time, they told me to stay home. They said I might act badly and make Sophie look bad in front of her friends. When they left, Sophie wore a fancy dress and a crown. Mom, Dad, and Ben were all around her, walking to the hotel, laughing together. And their actual daughter? I couldn't even have cake. I was left home, supposedly so I wouldn't cause trouble, eating cold leftover food. I didn't argue or get upset. I just stayed in my room, reading and planning for the day I could leave this house. My mid-year test scores came out and I was number one. The school also scheduled a meeting for parents and teachers. When I returned home, Sophie was crying. Mom, I feel so stupid. Even my sister did great and came in first. Do you think I'm not smart? Do you still care about me? Ben awkwardly patted her shoulder. I like Sophie more than Emma. Dad comforted her. Don't feel too bad. Emma just got lucky. She doesn't normally study much. Sophie, don't copy her. Mom added, Yes, Sophie, you're doing well. Don't study so hard you get tired. Your health is more important. They always said they treated us fairly, but here they were saying bad things about me just to cheer Sophie up. If they weren't my parents, I might admire how much they spoiled her. I stood by the door, a sarcastic smile on my face. Sophie dried her eyes and asked quietly, Will you make me go back to the orphanage? Sophie is scared. I don't want to leave Mom and Dad. Mom held her close. Of course not. Sophie will always be part of our family, and honestly, school grades aren't everything. You don't need to work so hard, Sophie. I'll look after you, sis, Ben promised sincerely, and everyone laughed. Sophie looked up shyly, her eyes hopeful. Will you attend my parent meeting? Yes, both of us will go, Dad promised. Only then did Sophie seem to see me. She called out quietly, Sis. The happy mood in the room instantly disappeared. I pretended not to hear and walked into the main room. There's a parent meeting at school. Who is attending? Dad suddenly got angry. When did you start being so impolite? You didn't even say hello to us. I didn't understand why he was upset. Mom stopped him and said, Sorry to me. Emma, your dad and I plan to go to Sophie's meeting. For your meeting, I interrupted her, looking up. Does her meeting require two parents? Why are you making things hard? Dad asked. Sophie isn't well. She needs care. As the older sister, you should understand, not fight about these small things. Even knowing it would end the same way as last time, I still felt a tiny bit of hope. It was just me fooling myself. I turned and walked back to my room, ignoring their shouts. My feelings just turned colder. I turned 13. When I came home from school, the house felt empty and quiet. Just as I took out my phone, Mom called. It was loud on her end, like many children were around. Emma, we have to manage things for both you and Sophie this year. Sophie's health has been poor, and hospital trips cost money, so things are difficult. There's no birthday present for you this year. I sent you some money online. Make sure to buy yourself a nice meal. I heard Sophie calling for Mom nearby. Before I could reply, Mom hung up quickly. I looked at my phone and saw the money transfer Mom sent. I smiled slightly and didn't take it. It was likely just a small amount anyway, not worth accepting. It was good I wasn't actually 13. Being alone all night would have been frightening for a real kid. But as I was making some quick noodles and getting my phone for homework, I saw Sophie's online post. I had forgotten this detail. In my first life, my birthday was the same. Because Sophie felt jealous that another student visited Disney, our parents bought tickets right away and took her, not even thinking twice. Later, Mom recalled it was my birthday and sent me a small amount of money. I assumed they were busy working, so I didn't think much of it. I waited on the sofa for them to come home, but when I saw how happy they looked, I lost my temper. Sophie cried, and Dad forced me to say sorry to her. Back in the present, I looked at her online update. Sophie was dressed as Snow White, smiling and making a peace sign. There was also a picture of the four of them, Mom, Dad, Ben, and Sophie, at the Disney gate. Yes, the four of them, without me. They all seemed extremely happy. They even had a big meal at Disney. They told me they were short on money and only sent me a small online payment, but they took Sophie to Disney on my birthday. This happened twice now. Suddenly, I felt sick. Years passed quickly, and I was accepted into a good high school. Finally, I was separate from Sophie. She didn't score well enough on the test to get in. Once high school began, I asked to live at the school dorms. I didn't go home even during breaks, choosing instead to pass out advertisements to earn some money. But when summer vacation started, I had no reason not to go home. So I packed my things. It felt like after I was gone for 6 months, they had become an even tighter family unit, closer to each other than to me, their real daughter. When I arrived, the living room was quiet, but I didn't care. I went straight upstairs with my bag. Just as I got near my room, I heard lovely piano playing and my parents complimenting the player. I wasn't planning to disturb them, but as I got closer, I realized the music was coming from my room. I grabbed the doorknob and pulled the door open hard. Inside, the four of them looked up at me, surprised. I looked around. All my things were gone, even my bed. In the middle of the room was a fancy piano, the kind I'd only seen on television. It cost much more than the violin I received when I was 12. Sophie, wearing a white dress, sat at the piano, her fingers still resting on the keys. My bedroom was now Sophie's music room. This hadn't occurred in my first life. Perhaps because I didn't argue this time, they felt brave enough to do this. I held the doorknob firmly, trying to hide the anger in my eyes, but I spoke calmly. Where am I supposed to sleep? Before Mom or Dad could answer, Ben spoke rudely. Emma, you weren't home for half a year. We figured you decided to live somewhere else. Don't put the blame on Mom and Dad. You keep your distance and hardly ever visit. Sophie's large piano didn't fit in the spare room, so we didn't have another option. Before I could say anything, Sophie started crying. Sis, this is all my fault. I just really wanted to play the piano so we could become friends. Sis hasn't visited in 6 months and must miss Mom and Dad. If Sis doesn't like it, I can go. I should be able to live on my own now anyway. After saying this, Sophie coughed loudly and wobbled like she might fall. Ben quickly held her up and shouted at me. Emma, do you always have to cause problems? As soon as you arrive, you make Sophie sad. You bring bad luck. Nobody feels good when you're around. Sophie owes you nothing. Actually, she always says nice things about you. But you come in trying to throw her out. Are you even a decent person? Hearing them blame me, I suddenly felt it was all useless. Past life or this life, they always chose Sophie, their niece, over me, their daughter. Listening to Ben yelling loudly, I watched him spit as he spoke in anger. I couldn't hold back anymore. I walked up and slapped Ben hard across the face. His head snapped sideways from the force. He looked totally shocked. My parents stood frozen, but Sophie's crying brought them back. My mom ran to Ben, holding him, heartbroken. She said to me, Emma, Mom is so disappointed in you. You've changed badly, hitting your own brother. Dad was also enraged, pointing at me. He's right, you caused trouble here. Being away has made you thoughtless, rude, and now violent towards your brother. You need to be taught a lesson. No more spending money for you. It will all go to him. Ben held his face and yelled angrily, Give it all to Sophie, don't let her have anything. I laughed and answered back right away. Let's not forget, other than giving me money for school fees at the start of the year, when did you ever give me spending money? I used my New Year's gift money to pay for my own room and food. Did you ever care if I had enough? Mom and Dad didn't know what to say. Mom looked like she might step towards me, but Sophie quickly coughed again, tears in her eyes, and said weakly, I'm sorry, sister. It's my fault I wanted Mom and Dad's attention. Don't worry, I'll go soon. I'm thankful just for the years I spent with them. As she said this, she started to stand, and everyone rushed to her side, telling her she belonged and comforting her. Seeing Sophie's hidden smile of victory, I turned and took my bag to the spare room downstairs. The following day, I left my room around lunchtime. Sophie specially asked me to taste food she cooked as an apology. In my first life, she did this on my birthday too. She told everyone not to help her and made dumplings by herself. The dumplings contained shrimp. Back then, when I had a bad reaction because I am allergic, people thought I was lying and blaming Sophie on purpose. Even Ben pointed at me saying, You know you can't eat seafood. Can't you smell it? Sophie didn't know. I bet you ate it just to make her look bad. This time, I saw the shrimp shells in the garbage bin and smiled to myself. Just like before, Sophie came to me with a plate of dumplings, looking sad. Sister, I was wrong yesterday. These dumplings are to say sorry. You haven't tasted them yet, right? Mom and Dad liked them. Mom added, Yes, Emma, try some. Don't refuse Sophie's nice gesture. They seemed to hope that if I ate the dumplings, everything would be fine between Sophie and me, and I'd become the daughter they wanted. Sadly for them, that wouldn't happen. As I paused before picking up my chopsticks, Sophie's eyes filled with tears. Ben yelled angrily, Emma, don't be so rude. I ignored Ben's shout and looked calmly at Mom. Mom, can you smell that? That very strong seafood smell? Mom seemed confused, so I used chopsticks to break open a dumpling, showing the shrimp inside. I'm allergic to seafood. Did you forget? The room became quiet. Even Ben, who always defended Sophie, was silent. When I was 6, we went to my uncle's house and they served lots of shrimp and crab. At that time, I was their favorite, and Mom asked my aunt to make separate food for me. But my aunt didn't think allergies were serious and made me eat it. I was young and didn't want to argue, so I ate it. It made me throw up and get a rash, and I ended up in the hospital. Back then, Ben thought my aunt tried to poison me and pushed her angrily. I remember Sophie was there too. But now they seem to have forgotten. All their attention was on Sophie. Before, we never had seafood in the house, but now they didn't notice the strong smell. My question made Mom and Dad look uneasy. Sophie started to cry, looking very sad. I'm sorry, sister. I didn't realize. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't live here. She walked unsteadily towards the door, changing the uncomfortable mood as everyone hurried to comfort her. It's fine, Sophie. You didn't do it on purpose. Yes, Sophie, it's okay. She didn't even eat it. Emma, please, just comfort Sophie. I was the one who was hurt, but I was expected to make the person who hurt me feel better. That was ridiculous. I ignored the whole scene and left. Not long after that, I did extremely well on my final exams. With a high score, I was the best science student in our region and got into a top university. For the first time, Mom and Dad spoke about me with pride. They even hosted a party to celebrate, putting Sophie somewhat aside. During the party, while they were busy talking happily with the visitors, Ben ran in looking very worried. He was carrying Sophie, who seemed to be unconscious, towards the exit. Mom and Dad immediately stopped what they were doing and followed, leaving the guest unsure what was happening. Living again has shown me much about Sophie. Thankfully, I wasn't the easily fooled girl anymore and could manage the situation with the guests smoothly. Alex's mom seemed especially interested. Alex and I had been promised to each other since we were kids, and he always protected me when we were younger. He even cried once and said he'd marry me when we grew up. I put on a fake smile and turned to her. Auntie, I should go check on Sophie at the hospital. Since I was studying business at university, it could be useful for Alex later. Wanting to strengthen our connection, she offered to come with me. At the hospital, many people were gathered near Sophie's bed. She was leaning weakly against Alex. Mom, Dad, sorry I made you worry. It was just low blood sugar. I'm okay. Please go back and be with Emma. I wouldn't want her to get the wrong idea. After she finished speaking, she coughed again. Emma is older now. She can manage. But you are the one we worry about, Mom said, her voice full of love and care. Auntie, I can handle this, Alex said. He looked at Sophie so gently that she blushed. Mom seemed to have forgotten Alex was meant to marry me. Instead, she smiled like she knew a secret. These two make a great couple. Alex held Sophie near, not caring that our parents were watching. He lightly touched his lips to her forehead. That was the moment Alex's mom and I entered the room. Alex's mom's eyes opened wide and she gasped, Alex, what are you doing? In my first life, I didn't even manage to get into an average college. Now, I'm studying business at a very respected university, while Sophie is just attending a trade school. Before, neither Sophie nor I achieved much, so Alex's mom didn't care who he married. Alex saw me standing there, calm and not reacting. He pointed at me boldly and said, Mom, I don't like Emma. I want to cancel our engagement. I want Sophie. He stood directly facing me. The boy who used to protect me from mean kids, who cried holding my hand and promised to marry me, was gone. His expression now was just like the proud, unpleasant guy from my past, a person I truly hated. Emma, I could never like a nasty person like you, Alex announced. I only love Sophie. If you ever hurt her, you'll have to deal with me. Alex's mom told him off. That's crazy. You always said you would marry Emma when you were young. Alex grumbled. I must have been stupid back then. Funny, I thought. So was I. Alex's mom tried hard to silence him, looking embarrassed and avoiding looking at me as she pulled him away. Suddenly, only my parents, Sophie, Ben, and I were left. Even after living twice, I had to ask, did you know all this time that Sophie and Alex were together? Mom looked a little guilty. Emma, why are you being so mean? What do you mean, together? Alex doesn't love you. He loves Sophie. Why can't you just let her have the engagement? Ben jumped in. Emma, Alex said things were different when you were children. He will never love you. He only loves Sophie. So just be reasonable and end the engagement. It's better for all of us. Otherwise, you'll just look foolish. I looked at my brother, who always chose Sophie's side in both lives. Memories came rushing back. The time he broke Dad's fish tank and I got blamed, losing my spending money for weeks. The time I found him soaked in rain after he wandered away from daycare and brought him home because our parents were busy. When I was 8, I held on to him to stop strangers from taking him and got kicked. The time I was sick in the hospital from seafood and when he cried, Sister, I'll keep you safe. But now he was different. I looked up, trying hard not to cry. Sophie can have the engagement, but you must promise 2 things. Sophie's eyes opened a bit wider. Sister, do you mean it? I didn't look at her and faced my parents. Dad nodded, looking slightly relieved. Emma, you're mature now. You're finally acting responsibly. Sophie is family too. It's good you're not making a scene. I managed a small smile. First, change my official family registration so I'm separate. Second, cut all connections with me. From today, we are not related. Mom was shocked, unable to believe it. Emma, do you understand what you're asking? Because of this? Really? What game are you playing? Sophie is sick. You should care for her as her sister. And now you're making threats? Emma, you have truly disappointed us. I felt sick to my stomach. There was no need to be nice anymore. Am I making too big a deal? When did I ever make too big a deal? When you changed her name to match ours and called her your daughter, did I make a scene? No, right? I just didn't treat her like she was special. Isn't that okay? I didn't hurt her or yell at her. I just didn't flatter her like you always do. And that's making a scene? I've never seen parents treat their real daughter like a stranger but adore their niece. I mean, you owed her father money, didn't you? Her mother almost made me die from that allergic reaction, but you treat their daughter like royalty. So our family money is just for them? I asked for a violin for a whole year. You refused. You finally bought it for my birthday. But she cried a little and you gave it away. It was my gift, right? My birthday, her gift. Her birthday, parties at hotels, fancy cake, while your own daughter ate alone at home. At school events, both of you go, but you only ever go for her, making me look like the only child whose parents don't show up. You don't know which high school I attend. You didn't give me spending money. You sent a tiny amount for my birthday, but took her to Disney World and even gave her my room for her piano. Oh, and pianos cost a lot, don't they? The money you spent on me probably isn't even close to the price of her piano. Remember when I got sick from seafood at dinner? Those shrimp dumplings? She was right there, but you still served them. Want me to list more? Is pretending problems don't exist your main plan? Don't even think I'll just let this go. Sometimes I wonder if we were switched when I was born, if Sophie is your actual daughter. Mom's face got hard. She strongly denied it. No, Emma, you are our daughter. We love you. I carried you for 9 months. How could we not love you? I interrupted her coldly. If I had known I would be born into a family with no morals, I would have preferred to die before I was born. Mom stopped crying, looking completely stunned. Dad's face looked pale, and even Ben, who usually talked a lot, was quiet. I didn't feel like lecturing him further. I agreed to end the engagement. 3 days later, I expected to receive the updated family registration document. Once I receive my scholarship funds, I will transfer money to your bank account to repay you for raising me all these years. Seeing Dad start to speak, I just smiled. If you want to be against me, that's okay too. He closed his mouth, looking sad. I didn't look at them again and walked out of the hospital room. 2 days after that, the new registration paper arrived. It only had my name. I was finally independent. Watching the busy city streets, I smiled genuinely for the first time in what felt like 2 lives. On the day Sophie and Alex got married, I heard none of our family attended. I didn't mind. I arranged for someone at the wedding to reveal that Alex was born outside of marriage. Alex was deeply embarrassed at his own wedding, and Sophie faced shame too. His parents became laughingstocks among their friends. I heard Alex's position at his job was shaky after that. Not even a year after Sophie married Alex, she became ill. Alex didn't care for her. He was already searching for a new wife. It seemed Alex needed to marry someone important, leaving Sophie to face death alone. I went to see Sophie one final time. She was lying in the hospital bed, looking white and close to death. Emma, are you happy now? Mom, Dad, even Ben don't care about me. Now Alex wants me gone too. Sophie found it hard to speak, but still stared at me with the same hateful look. She hadn't changed. Emma, why do you get to be happier than me? Do you know how envious I felt when your mom made my mom cook special food because you couldn't eat seafood? I didn't reply much. You got what you deserved. At the doorway, I stopped and smiled. Don't fret. Alex will be joining you soon. Just 2 days later, I heard Sophie had died. Alex got what he wanted and married a rich woman from a property development family. The next time I encountered Alex was at his company's building. After finishing university, I started working for the government tax office. We were there to look into his family's company finances. After careful examination, we found proof the company had avoided taxes and might have been involved in illegal activities. His family blamed everything on Alex. In the end, all their money and property were taken, and Alex received the harshest punishment, ending up in prison. I heard he asked to meet me. I refused. Nobody bothers me anymore. I have a comfortable life, so why would I meet someone who failed so badly?
Here, please enjoy my corvids. Finally, someone painting birds. Hi, Jay. Welcome in. Vivi, good to see ya. This is Herbie the baby vulture. Please observe his delightful, delectable, delicious long eyelashes. He's an icon. Look at him. Initially, he had a crew cut, and I did manage to fix that. Whoa. Oh, I love that scapula. Yes, he's a model. A model, idiot. This is someone's puppy that I painted for them. She passed away. Get in the Zeth mindset of just saying the say the curse thing, maybe apologize later. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. That's exactly right. That's a photo. Painting, true story. Did I paint it on stream? Actually, I did mostly paint it on stream. Chat,